Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video for you. Doing something a little different this time, and don't worry, the next video will be about World of Warcraft again. Something I find myself searching from time to time is what is the next Blizzard game coming out. Obviously, if something official was announced, we'd know about it by now, but I think it could be fun to speculate about this sort of stuff. So in this video, I'll try to compile all of the information we have available to us, and make some educated guesses to see what they may or may not have planned for us. It might be long-winded since I do want to be thorough, but hopefully it's entertaining nonetheless. So, let's start by taking a look at the games one by one, and see if we have any prospects for new expansions rather than standalone releases. Not including their older games, we currently have 6 frontrunners to talk about, and that's the World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, Starcraft 2, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and Overwatch. So first, just to make our pool a little easier to work with, let's take a look at recent releases so we can narrow things down. Starting with World of Warcraft, Legion is still pretty new at the time of this video, so it's too early for anything with that franchise I think. The typical lifespan of an expansion is typically around 2 years, and we're only 6 months into Legion. We may see an announcement of the next expansion in around 6 more months here, but the actual game release usually occurs around 1 year later, so we can be relatively safe checking this off of our list. Moving on to Starcraft 2, this one is already answered. The Legacy of the Void expansion pack was released on November 10th, 2015, and it was confirmed by Blizzard to be the third and final part of Starcraft 2, ending the story started way back in 1998. That's almost 20 years ago if you can actually believe that. Now, that's not to say that it's the end of the franchise though. As to whether Starcraft 3 is ever going to be made is up in the air. Hearthstone, the Warcraft-themed card game, is another one we can scratch off the list. Expansions for Hearthstone seem to come out every 6 to 8 months, and their 5th one, The Journey to Un'Goro, was just announced a couple of weeks ago. It has new cards of course, a new card type, and it's set to be released during early April 2017. Heroes of the Storm is easy as well because of the way it gets updated. It doesn't get expansions, but rather a steady stream of patches, characters, and mini events such as the Eternal Conflict added to the game. And it's all free aside from the characters, but that's their pay model, so no technical expansions with this series. And similarly, next up is Overwatch, and if we're assuming Blizzard will be keeping their promise, they said that any map, character, or other future content is going to be free for that game. Which has been true so far. The only thing you buy in that game are optional loot boxes. Since release, we've seen 2 new characters and a couple of maps, and everyone got them for free, so no expansions for this one either. This leaves us with just one more, and that's Diablo 3. For those of you who don't know, this game has been plagued with extremely slow content updates, frequent major staff changes, development 180s, and just general stagnation. The Reaper of Souls expansion was released just about 3 years ago on March 25th, 2014, and since then it's received 4 major patches. That's an average of 1 major patch every 9 months. And in my opinion, 2 of those are only major in name. I'm sorry, but when one of the big features of a major patch is the ability to craft multiple gems or items at one time, that disqualifies it in my book. But I'm getting off track here. Due to the incredibly slow stream of content, this was the series that was speculated at BlizzCon 2016 to either get A, an expansion, or B, a sequel, Diablo 4. Well, the true answer was the hidden C, none of the above. What was instead announced was the purchasable character pack, The Rise of the Necromancer DLC. This isn't an expansion, just a DLC that unlocks the new Necromancer class, an in-game pet, 2 additional character slots, and some other minor or cosmetic stuff. So in essence, not an expansion. You might say that this makes it a good prospect for an upcoming expansion. It's overdue, therefore one is going to come soon. Well, let me explain why I think that isn't going to be the case. Now this isn't anything confirmed, but we may have actually got the next Diablo 3 expansion already, but only pieces of it. Basically, the idea here is that the content we got in patch 2.3, which was released on August 25th, 2015, was originally being saved for a new expansion. This was the patch that gave us a new area to explore, the Runes of Sescheron, a new feature called Kanai's Cube, which lets you pick and choose legendary affixes, new difficulty settings, and more. The Runes of Sescheron would have just been one of many areas to explore in the new expansion, and it would have had a focus on the barbarian lore. We also would have gotten the Necromancer class and a level cap increase along with it, similar to how the Reaper of Souls expansion got the Crusader class. But due to the constant team changes and low profits in the West, the new features, areas, and difficulties were added to patch 2.3, and the Necromancer class would be saved for later with its DLC pack that they announced. Once again, nothing official at all, but considering how slowly this game gets updated, I think it's pretty believable. And I think it's because of these reasons why I think we won't see a new expansion for Diablo 3 anytime soon, if ever. Personally, I think it's just going to turn into a game that gets maintenance patches and character DLC packs rather than expansions. So overall, if you're talking about stuff that's going to come out relatively soon, our expansion prospects aren't looking good. The only two possible ones I think would be World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, but as I've said, it'll be a good 6 months or so before we see any announcements for those. So, let's move on to the possibilities of standalones. Blizzard proved that they're not afraid to step away from their established IPs with the release of Overwatch, but what genre would they go for? With their recent move to FPS, it seems like they're trying to cover at least one game for each genre. World of Warcraft is the MMO, Starcraft 2 is the RTS, Hearthstone is the strategy card game, Overwatch the FPS, Heroes of the Storm is the MOBA, and Diablo 3 is the dungeon crawler hack-and-slash action RPG. This leaves a few categories yet to be explored. The one I think has the most prospects would be adventure. Now you may say that World of Warcraft has it covered. I agree that it has adventure in it, but it's not the focus of it. At its core, it's of course an MMORPG which has adventure, but its primary goal is that raiding, community-based aspect that all MMOs have. When I say adventure, I mean super open world, sandbox exploration. It's a genre that's exploded with popularity, and it's something that's ripe for the picking, I think. Even Nintendo is jumping into it with their recent Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, or the upcoming Super Mario Odyssey. I think Blizzard will follow suit, not necessarily going as heavy into it with games such as Minecraft, but I think it'll be a game that has a heavy focus on adventure and exploration with a multiplayer aspect to it. Tom Chilton, the previous game director for World of Warcraft, stepped down in October of last year and said that he was moving on to quote-unquote another project within the company. Now, this could be any of their existing franchises, but it might point towards something new considering he didn't specify what the project is. To support this, some other information is that there were some interesting job openings that came up. If you go to their job openings webpage, it shows you various positions they're looking to fill for all of their games. A few of them are titled Unannounced Project, and if you read it, it says that they're looking for someone to work on a robust first-person engine. I think it's unlikely that it has something to do with Overwatch since, like I mentioned earlier, they're not updating through expansions. Could this unannounced project be what Chilton is working on? Being the game director for something as big as World of Warcraft is a pretty substantial thing, so having him possibly be the director of a new standalone game is a good spot for him, I think. A new game makes sense too if you look at their release schedule. Not including expansions, it's around one game every 1 or 2 years, and with Overwatch being released in May of last year, we're about to enter that range. So, given all of this information, my prediction is that it's going to be an adventure/exploration open-world first-person shooter. It'll probably have some aspects of multiplayer to it since all of their games have that. As for the universe, if we're not talking new, their best bet is going to be in either the Starcraft or Overwatch universe, something that allows for ample gunplay. And for the Blizzard touch, maybe it'll be sort of like a more open-ended version of Borderlands or Destiny. How cool would a first-person MMO Starcraft be, with an MMO looting system, different factions to choose, several planets to visit and explore, and dungeons and raids in an FPS setting? I think my head would explode. As for the question when, I think possibly an announcement this year and a release within the next 2 years would be a safe estimate. But like I said, it's all speculation, don't take it too seriously. It's just fun to compile all of this information and talk about it. And I'm sure whatever it is, it'll be great just like all of their other franchises. You can call me a Blizzard fanboy, which is probably true, but I think it's for good reason. It seems like every game they release is top quality, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. That's about all I have to talk about though, I guess. I hope you found the video entertaining, like it if you liked it, and thanks for watching. Peace.